Welcome back to OllieGolf.com. I'm your host, David Egono, and today I have with me Russ Holden, who is the CEO for Caddy for a Cure. Russ, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing better than good. It's nice to be with you, David.
So this interview is going to be cool in a sense that I've never really gotten a chance to speak with somebody who is on the charitable lines of our world. I've talked to guys who are tour players or coaches or what have, even just businessmen, but I've never talked to somebody who is on the forefront of running a charity, so especially a golf-specific charity. So I'm definitely interested to get into that. So I have a couple warm-up questions, if you will, just to get to know you a little bit. How and why golf? How did you get into golf?
And originally, and frankly, years old, up there in the tundra of the Great White North, and golf was just something to do in the summertime. And my dad used to literally grab me by the ear and drag me out to the golf course and make me go, and I hated it originally coming in. And what happened was, I think it was along about 12, 13 years old, my dad entered me in a junior tournament, and lo and behold, I won. And I got a trophy, I think, that was bigger than me. And I kind of really dug that. I thought, this is pretty cool. I like golf now. And it got the bug going for me, and I got addicted to it. And my whole life ended up just becoming golf, and more golf.
That's awesome. Now, you kind of cut out at the beginning. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Michigan, the Great White North in Michigan, and I played hockey growing up, and golf was really just something to do while I wasn't playing hockey, and my dad used to drag me out to the golf course, and again, I hated it when I was a kid growing up. At a very early age, I hated it.
Why did you hate it? I mean, just curious.
Well, it was boring to me. Golf, compared to hockey, gosh, you throw your skates on and it's nonstop. You just don't ever stop skating and moving around, and the puck's active. And to me, I was, really, I wasn't very good early on, and watching my dad play and having to walk all that way and up and down hills and whatnot. I didn't get it when I was little, and like I said, I won that golf tournament. And when I did that, I saw a competitive side to it, and I saw, like anybody, when you do something very well and you can excel at it, people tend to go back to that. I think it was a great one. Jack Nicklaus said that you can never do well what you don't enjoy. So at the core of anything, whether it's Bill Gates creating computers or whether it's Ben Roethlisberger throwing footballs or Roger Clemens throwing baseballs, there's a core love there that exceeds all else. And for me, once I figured out why I loved it, I love the competitive side of it. Then it spurred me on. I played high school golf, and then went on to have an extremely successful college career. Being fortunate enough to make All-American a couple of times, and then led me on to a professional career, and then now 28 years as a member of the PGA of America. So what was once a hatred is now, I guess, diametrically opposed, the other end of the spectrum. I love it now.
No kidding. Okay. Well, now take us back to your time in college. You went to Malone College, correct? Or Malone University?
Malone College, now Malone University in Canton, Ohio, right across the street from the Football Hall of Fame.
Wow. So you just said initially there was just, somewhat of an aversion to playing golf, but as you just mentioned as well, you're digging it, you're liking it. What was your experience with college golf, and then how did that propel you into a pro career?
Well, I switched sports. I was originally wanted to go to school to play hockey, and that didn't work out. And I switched sports, and I had to go to a small junior college in Detroit, where I'm from. And I played there, and was fortunate enough to play well. And I went to junior college nationals, and from there, I actually got paired with what was to become my best friend. Got paired in the event there, and we hit it off, and we went to junior college nationals in Odessa, Texas. And then we actually, since we were both qualified and we were both going there, that we actually agreed to stay with each other, and we furthered the friendship there. And from there, he lived in Cleveland, and I lived in Detroit. And I went down and spent a long weekend. And one night, literally in the middle of the night, after a long night of eating pizza and drinking sodas and playing ping pong, asked me where I was going to go to school. And at the time, I only had a very weak offer from the University of Arizona with just a minimal amount of money. And out-of-state tuitions were just ridiculously crazy for my small family and what my parents were earning. So it was almost the end of my golf career, really, and he invited me to come down to play, with the golf coach at Malone College. And we went to a place called Firestone in Akron, Ohio, which is, many golfers will recognize that. It's one of the top golf courses in the world. Just a fantastic facility, which to me, growing up on public golf courses, I'd never really seen anything like that before. And we played golf with the coach that day, and it was pretty obvious that, he liked me. And we got to the end of the day, and he pretty much promised me that I could either play number 1 or number 2 on the team. I could room with my friend Paul, who had invited me down. He was already committed to go there, and that I could have basically 100% scholarship with tuition and room and board. Everything was going to be paid for. And the kicker was, at the end of the day, he had me at hello, but at the end of the day, our spring trip was going to be to go to Hawaii on an annual basis. And with all that thrown in the kitty, I couldn't sign fast enough. And it kind of went back to sort of the age-old thing. And do you want to be a big fish in a small pond or be a small fish in a big pond? And my only option was to be a big fish in a small pond. It's only about 2,500 students there. A very small campus. Everybody knows everybody. You can't do anything without somebody else on campus knowing what you're doing. And there's kind of good points and bad points to that. But in retrospect, it was probably one of the greatest things that God really ever blessed me with, because from there it ended up being a stepping stone. My college golf coach's birthday was yesterday. And after all these years, graduating decades later, I still speak to him on probably a biweekly basis. He's a second father to me and one of my best friends. And, my history at Malone College has just proven to be a life-changing experience, all going back to that one day playing golf at Firestone.
That's awesome. Now, your coach is Ken Highland, correct?
It is, Coach Ken Highland. You've done your homework. Good job.
Thank you. Now, the reason why I did my homework is, obviously to be prepared, but one of my, I don't want to call it a pet theme because I think it's a real life theme, especially as you mature into an adult and whatever you want to do, whether it's business or charity or politics, whatever, you have to be very, very aware of relationships and you have to nurture them. Now, I don't want to roll back the clock too long, but can you even put a price tag on the magnitude of building a relationship with your buddy, I believe you said Paul, your best friend Paul, and then with your head coach, Coach Ken, and where would you? I'm stumbling for words here because I can only imagine how impactful has that been?
Well, there's really no words to say. My son, I'll answer your question with an analogy. And now as a father, my son was extremely blessed to have a very small company, gone through the whole recruiting process with many, many, many schools. He ended up signing with the University of Florida. He ultimately got drafted by the Pittsburgh Pirates and bypassed college and years of minor league baseball. And through all those coaches, I can only tell you that my press statement, if you will, or my comment all the time, my hope and prayer for my son is that he would meet a coach that would become the Ken Holland of his life. Ken has really been instrumental in my life, and frankly, from a coaching perspective, now that I'm a coach, and now that I've had the chance to work all these years on the PGA Tour, working with the best players in the game, and having the luxury of being associated with one of the greatest players in the history of the game for 20 years, he's probably not the best golf coach in the world. He wouldn't be the guy that I would send you to take a swing lesson or anything like that. But at 68, he's won the Ohio Public Links many times. He's a very, very good player in his own right, but not exactly a David Ledbetter or a Sean Foley in the sense of a teaching coach. But he is a coach of life. He has an eternal perspective on it, and I can't even tell you the hundreds and hundreds of men and women that have come through the program at Malone College, that their lives have been impacted beyond measure. There's a boy there right now, just graduated, Justin Lauer. He lost his father in a tragic car incident just before he entered Malone College, and really thought life was over. His dad was his best friend, is his golf coach. Coach took him in, put him underneath his wing, and in fact graduated. He was the first 4-time All-American in the history of Malone College. He actually won the NCAA Division II Nationals his last senior year, and from there he graduated and went on, and now has qualified for his first PGA Tour event that he played in Reno last year, and is really got a very bright future ahead of him. Was it the golf coaching that got him there? No, it was really the ability to be able to go, father figure to be able to go to and relate to with proper direction and just morals and ethics and honor and character, integrity, all the things that really go into a real success, whether it be golf or business or politics or anything. And that's what I would say Coach Hyland has really had the most impact on so many people.
Yeah, I could do a whole show just on that, being stemming from relationships, but then the power of mentorship, especially in athletic. Let's get back to you. So you had a great career at Malone. What next? What was at your feet when you were finished at Malone?
Well, I had a dream that I wanted to play on the PGA Tour, and I figured that the only way with my family's, again, meager existence, that was wonderful, but we didn't have the funding or the money to be able to go send me out. So I went to work. I went and got an assistant's job up in southeast Cleveland at Acacia Country Club, and I went up there with no bones about it. I was there to try to find sponsors, and I went up there and worked a whole summer and made some life friends out of the members up there, and they were generous enough to like me and like my golf game enough. I had a good summer playing in Northern Ohio as a golf professional. Now I turned pro, and they gave me some money, and I came down here to Florida where I'm based now, and I never looked back really. I ended up playing for almost 3 years, and I like to joke now that I like to eat on a regular basis, and I realized that wasn't gonna work for me, and I came to a point of I was doing okay, but what I didn't want to be was I didn't want to be 30 years old or 35 years old and be what we call a trunk slammer, and that is another guy who's addicted to the game and doesn't want to give up the dream and continues to just keep playing. Golf, it's not like football or baseball, even my son, and I realized with your career that maybe it came to a point where it wasn't going to work anymore, and the game ended for you. And it might not have been your decision. It might have been somebody else that looked you in the eye and said, thank you for all your hard work, but that job's over with. The golf doesn't do that. You have to literally tell yourself that. You can continue to keep trying. Even at my age right now, I could go out and put up my money and go try to play. But there was something inside of me that was yearning and said, I don't want to be that position. I want to get my life going now. And I just don't think that I'm going to be able to make it as good of a player as I am. I see too many other guys that play just as well as I do, and they're not making it, and I just don't want to do it. So I went into the club route. I joined the PGA of America, and I started my steps in becoming an apprentice. Got a job at a club down here in South Florida and ended up staying there for 4 years. And luckily, through my church, had a family there that were building a golf course here in Boca Raton, Florida, and I wasn't qualified. I wasn't the right person, but they didn't know anybody else, and they offered me the head pro job. And, of course, I took it, and that's where life really took a big turn and really changed. here I was, in my late 20s as a head pro of a very prestigious club, and we happened to have some pretty well-known residents, one of them being a Masters champion, two-time Masters champion now, Bernhard Langer, a young golfer from Germany, had just won his first Masters in 1985, and here he is, one of our members. He lives there. He's a resident at the club, and what ended up happening was we hit it off in the late 80s, and first as friends, and from there ended up becoming his part-time swing coach, then his part-time caddy, and then longtime friend. It was a couple of decades of a great time that we had together, traveling the world and watching him being, at one time number one in the world for a brief period of time, and always a top 5 golfer. And that's where my career really changed from a golf perspective. And as we already started, I always look back and say, the pieces of our life, as we look back in retrospect and how we can fit those all together, it was really evident to me and quite obvious that it all led back to Malone University, and even that one day at Firestone Country Club, how those pieces were all being put into place to allow us to end up being where we are today.
Yeah, there's so much good in what you just relayed. Any athlete, whatever your sport is, there comes a time as far as on your field or place of competition, whether you're a rower or you're a gymnast, you play football, basketball, or you're a pitcher, where, like you said, you get to a point where, there's a fork in the road, or maybe more accurately, the road ends, and you either decide to pave the road to continue where you're going, or you turn off and you reevaluate your career or your future. I know for me personally, it wasn't hard, because I think I'm a lot like you in a sense that my heart was yearning, my intellect was yearning for just another challenge. And I laughed when you said it. I like to eat too, so especially regularly. It's funny how that works out. So, when to. You should know when. You should heed the signs when it's time to transition. I can totally relate to that. There's nothing worse than golf calls them trunk slammers, and football, and I think basketball is certainly good. There's guys that will go from tryout to summer league to arena league to, and it's like, if you're 22, 23, 24, by all means, but once you get to late 20s, early 30s, you have family, or you have a choice, it gets kind of hard to, kind of feel for that guy, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
For sure.
So, and talking about Bernhard Langer and you're getting the head job at Boca Raton course, how did you, I'm saying this and it's, obviously it's hindsight, but did you ever see yourself caddying? Is that something that you've always done, or is that something that fell into your lap and you had a knack for it?
Neither really. It's really ironic because my whole life growing up, I got jobs at golf courses, and I worked in the bag room, I worked in the cart room, I worked in the pro shop, and there was always I grew up at working at a club called Dearborn Country Club in outside of Detroit. Started by Henry Ford, as a matter of fact. It's kind of a swanky place there, or it was when I was a kid growing up. And there was caddies all around, and I just never dawned on me, that was something that I could do or would do or should do. And as I mentioned, I played golf always on the other side, and I never imagined ever caddying. And when Bernhard and I met in the late 80s, I got the call one day in 1990 that his regular caddy could not make it for the PGA Championship, and asked me. I was kind of a natural. We were great friends. We're playing golf, 4 or 5 days a week, and just our families were socializing together, and we were going to church together, and we were doing all kinds of things. I was kind of a natural for him to say, hey, you want to come caddy for me? My Peter Coleman, my longtime caddy, for whatever reason, I don't even remember what it was. He just, there was a travel conflict and he couldn't make it. And I said, sure. And I'll never forget walking out on the first tee of a major practice round, of course, first couple of days. But I remember that we were playing with John Cook and Mark O'Meara. Mark O'Meara, a two-time major champion now. I remember walking, to the first tee, and literally I had no idea what to do. I had no idea. It was shocking because I thought I never even thought about it until I got to the tee. And when I got to the tee, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never caddied before in my life. What do I do? Now I was watching the other caddies and trying to make sure that I didn't do the wrong thing. And, I had no idea where to put the bag and, what to do and where to do it and what my responsibilities were. I had no clue. And I just sort of eked it out and made my best of it. And, it was okay. It was more about friendship and really just someone to tote the bag around as opposed to the, more internal aspects of caddying with all the things that go into being a good caddy. I joke there's so many hats that a caddy wears, whether it's sports psychologist, meteorologist, hygienist, motivational speaker. There's so many things that a good caddy has to be in order to be in that good top position. I think of a Steve Williams or Jim Mackay for Phil Mickelson, Bones. There's so many of those things. I was not even remotely being called on to be any of those things. I was just like, hey, just tote the bag and, kind of be there for me and, you'll be good. But I got really hooked. Here I was, hanging around with the Greg Normans and the Jack Nicklauses and even the Arnold Palmers, the Seve Ballesteroses of the world, and these were all my heroes. I mean, these were all the people that I literally was worshiping, growing up, watching these guys play golf and just, watching the TV every chance I could. And now here I was arm in arm, shoulder in shoulder with them, and I was like total kid in a candy store. I just said, I love this. Ma Bell used to have a thing, it's the next best thing to be in there. Their phrase for Southern Belle or whatever it was, and I kind of adopted that. Here I was. Well, I can't play. I'm never going to play on this at this level, at this platform. But caddying is kind of the next best thing to be in there. You're part of the team. You're in the competition. You get to experience, all the excitement, all the competition. Hey, it's big stakes they're playing for, and it's just this is everything that I dreamed of, only in a slightly different paradigm.
Yeah. Now, that's funny. I mean, that's great. Just next best thing to be in there. I spoke with Oliver Horowitz, who has a book, American Caddy in St. Andrews, and he said the exact same thing, obviously in different words that you said, as far as being a caddy, being a good caddy. You have like 15 different roles, and it changes depending on the minutes, the instance, the rain, the wind, the shot, and you have to have a good relationship or forge a very good relationship instantly with the guy you're caddying for. And that's interesting that you just. I'm laughing in my mind because I can only think of just the terror of being at your first event and you're like, okay, what do I do?
It was exciting to say the least.
Did you try to mimic the other caddies as far as where to stand or where to be, or was it just one of those things where you just were?
Oh no, yeah, I was right there. I was fortunately one of the caddies. We joked about it up until his untimely passing a couple of years ago. Greg Rita, a longtime caddy, and I used to joke about it because he was in that group the first day that I caddied, and he remembers, telling all the other caddies, and it's you can only imagine, at the time, if you will, maybe not Tiger. Let's say Jack was Tiger, or Greg Norman was Tiger at the time, number one. We didn't even know who Tiger Woods even was yet at this time. But go to a Rory McIlroy or a Phil Mickelson or someone at the top, definitely everyone, household name, recognizable, and all of a sudden they show up at a major. This is not the Pensacola Open or anything like that. This is a major, and he's got a guy on his bag that has no idea what he's doing. And, imagine that. Imagine in these days, what would happen if Phil all of a sudden shows up, and here's Bones, who's everybody knows Bones as much as they know Phil. You know, he's almost a recognizable face on the street, and you know, all of a sudden he's not there, and Phil's got a buddy of his back from his club at wherever he is, a Whisper Rock or whatever, and by the way, the guy has no idea what he's doing, and you know, that was me, and it was really, you know, when you look back on it, it's utterly astounding that it ended up being what it was. But I must have done all right because he invited me back over and over and over again, so I must have done something right.
Oh, definitely. Well, I mean, that's the perfect segue into Caddy for a Cure. So obviously you did something right. What needs did you see that could be met with, well, hold on, put that on hold. How did the inception of Caddy for a Cure come about?
Well, it was right there at Woodfield Country Club, the club where Bernhard lived. It was that same year in 1990. I was there just doing my day-to-day duties, and a guy walked in off the street who had then been pitching for the California Angels, had double Tommy John surgery, ended his pitching career, and walked in and said, "Hey, I made enough money in baseball. I just love golf. I want to be in the golf business. I don't care where you hire me. Just hire me and let me work here so I can be at the golf course every day. Get me out of the house with my wife." And I said, "Sure, no problem." You know, there was this great-looking guy, you know, in great shape and very personable, and I hired him, and I knew almost instantly when he walked in my office that we were going to be best of friends. And I was right. You know, we shared the same values and everything up across the plethora of levels, and just hit it off immediately. And he came to work. The only thing I had was a bagroom job, so I hired him. I said, you know, you're a little overqualified for the bagroom, but you know, you can go ahead and knock yourself out if you want to. And he did. And a couple months later, my assistant left for whatever reason, and I needed someone to work inside with me and do some teaching and whatnot. And he was the obvious choice, so I moved him up. And it was about a year later that his wife gave birth to their second child, Christian. It was actually August 25th, 1993, so I guess he might have come to work around 91 and something like that. But August 25th, 1993, Christian was born. And Christian was born with a rare bone marrow disorder called Fanconi anemia, and extremely lethal disease that comes with the children having a tremendous amount of birth defects. Typically, they're missing digits, thumbs particularly. They have clubbed hands. They're typically missing the radii bone, which is connecting the wrist and the elbow. Christian has a plethora of other problems. He's got a hole in his heart. He's missing a kidney. He's got a bunch of vertebrae fused together, and they're exceptionally small. To give you an idea, Christian is now 20 years old. Fast forward a little bit ahead of you, but 20 years old today, he's 37 inches tall. And when I saw that for the first time, you know, this was family. This wasn't somebody that has a kid that we all feel bad for, and yet we somehow will wipe it out of our heads and we go on with our lives. This was my own family, and we were literally living, breathing, and dying with this situation on a day-to-day basis. And I said, wow, you know, I got to do something about this someday. I don't know how I can help, but we're going to try to figure out something. So we'll fast forward. A couple of children later, they had two more healthy boys. Their fifth child, Kalen, was born 5 years later, and he's also born with Fanconi anemia, or what we call FA. In his attributes, as we say, are even a little bit worse off than Christian's. So I was hooked. I said, somehow, somewhere in my life, I'm going to make a difference in this disease. I just don't know what I'm going to do. So as I mentioned, I was caddying for Bernhard part-time, and you know, it started. In 2001, I got the big call from Bernhard. His longtime caddy, Pete Coleman, had resigned permanently. And Bernhard was going to move to America here, and he needed a full-time caddy. And since I was kind of the right guy in the right place, he asked me if I would consider coming out as an experiment to do caddy for him. And I accepted. I was in the right place at the right time, and you know, it ended up being almost 5 years that I caddied for him full time, traveling the world with him and playing in all the great events that he did. But when I got out there again full time in 2001, there I was with Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson and Ernie Els and all the great players of the day. And once again, he's a top player, and I'm rubbing shoulders with the very best of the best. And again, I'm still a kid in a candy store. And I had this passion for wanting to make a difference in the lives of those suffering with Fanconi anemia and those families. And I had an idea that people would pay in order for us to be able to trade places for a day and become a caddy for a day. So I went to the PGA Tour, and the IRS got our 501c3 status in order and laid out a business plan for the PGA Tour, and they kind of gave us a very minimal green light, gave us a very short leash. They wanted to see what the impact on the fans and the players and the events and everything was going to do, and we were going to give one shot, 1 year, to be able to do 5 events, and we were going to reconvene. And those 5 events were almost miraculous. They were incredible. We had the best players in the world all say that they'd love to do it. It was no problem. And we had some very generous people that somehow came into our lives, and we started it. And here we are 12 years later, still offering those same caddy experiences to generous donors that want to make a donation to our charity and are willing to make the effort to come out and caddy for a cure for a day.
That's awesome. Now, Caddy for a Cure, it's specifically for Fanconi anemia?
No, it's not. What we did was the tour highly suggested that in order to make this go, that we would be better off to support a number of issues. Obviously, Fanconi anemia is still at our core of our existence and why we exist, raising awareness and funds for them and the families that suffer from FA. But we also added a few other things. The player, his charity of choice, participates with us as well. The host site tournament charity of choice. As well, we aligned ourselves with Birdies for the Brave, which is the military outreach of the PGA Tour, started by Phil and Amy Mickelson in 2005. They are an incredible organization, which we can talk about here in a second. And the last one is the PGA Tour has a player assistance fund, which is a benevolent fund, for lack of a better word. So we've been able to be very, very diverse in how we break up our funds. Some of the player charities are extremely interesting, from ALS to cancer to leukemia to domestic violence to all kinds of great causes that we've been able to donate to. But clearly our hallmark achievement has been our work with Birdies for the Brave and the military. In 2005, I was caddying for Bernhard. I was at La Cantera in San Antonio for the Valero Texas Open. And they walked, during practice, 6 Marines down the range that all lost a leg. And these 6 young men were just utterly amazing. Young guys, 24, 25, 26, strong, great-looking guys. And, I was just absolutely stunned by the fact that, here these guys were going to be like this for the rest of their lives. And I had this thing, Caddy for a Cure. Well, why couldn't we let our caddy be escorted by a wounded warrior? And that kind of gave me that idea, and we went back to the tour and again had to kind of work out all the what ifs and the disabled aspects of it, and we came to a lot of great answers with everything, and now we've been proudly offering that to wounded warriors for 7 years. And we've been able to meet hundreds and hundreds of warriors through the years that have served our country so bravely, and to have some very serious injuries that they're going to suffer with the rest of their lives. And our press statement is that it's our feeble way of being able to say thanks to these men and women who have done so much for us. Hey, nobody likes a war. Nobody. We're not about liking war or anything like that, but we certainly say that it's not about the war, it's about the warriors. And we're definitely going to support them, that their countries asked them to do something, and they've gone ahead and heeded that call, and they've come back wounded and hurt, and we want to be able to help. And that's combined with Fanconi anemia research and the things that we've been able to do there, along with the wounded warrior aspect, has really kind of changed the face or the nature of Caddy for a Cure. The cure has gone from specifically Fanconi anemia, no doubt about it. That's what started it. That's the impetus behind it. But as we like to say, it's a cure for all things that ill society, all the ills in society, no matter what it is. As we talked about earlier, the caddy wears so many hats. You got to be there for everything, no matter what time, rain, snow, sun, whatever, the caddy's always there for his player. And with Caddy for a Cure, we like to say that we are the ultimate symbol of assistance, the caddy, in golf. And what we want to do is become just a symbol of assistance, a caddy for all that Plague Society. So our two specific things, again, are the wounded and Fanconi.
Well, I mean, before I continue the interview, I just want to thank you for just spearheading that, because I can only imagine just the power of a wounded warrior walking out the caddy and the player that's awesome. I mean, that's truly awesome. So I just want to thank you for spearheading that. I mean, obviously not by yourself, but with everybody, whether it's the Mickelsons or everybody in your organization, because I think that too often we forget, well, maybe it's not so much that we forget, but we have so much going on, and we like our sports so much, especially golf, and we only want to think about, the tournament or our favorite player, how they're going to do, or if their hot streak is going to continue, et cetera. So there's more pressing things, more, let's just say, lasting things that are around us that we need to pay attention to.
Well, thank you. I can tell you that I never set out to do all this. I just really, if you'd asked me 12 years ago that you and I would be having this conversation and that we would have been able to have done what we have done, I would have laughed at you. I would have said, you're out of your mind. And, we tell people all the time that by the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, which granted us our tax-free, not-for-profit charitable status, that by their laws, we are not a faith-based organization. But I will tell you that we operate based on faith. And the things that we've been able to do, in looking back, it's almost a miracle. In fact, it is a miracle to say that we would have Jack Nicklaus and Phil Mickelson and Rory McIlroy and even Tiger Woods and all the great players in the PGA Tour and all the tournaments and everything that's been able to happen and accomplish to us happen. It's nothing short of a miracle. I mean, here's a guy from a small town in Detroit that never caddied a day in his life, and we really honestly believe that we're operating, on a mission from God, that this is just kind of, what he wants us to be doing right now. And without trying to over-spiritualize it or go too deep into that, that's not what we're all about. But we clearly believe that we're in the right place and we're doing the right thing. And, while it's been a sacrifice to us from what we would have loved to do, I would have loved to have rather been Bill Gates and be worth $76 billion or something like that. But, at the end of the day, even Wednesday, just 2 days ago, to have Sergeant Tyrone Gammons, the United States Army, serving 14 years for this country, and to come out with the traumatic brain injury that he had and be suffering from the PTSD. And, what I've learned through this many times, we have many amputees that come out that have lost legs. We had a double amputee, lost both his legs as a special operations bomb specialist in Afghanistan. Many of the amputees you'll talk to will tell you that they're glad that they're amputees as opposed to suffering from PTSD, because the PTSD doesn't ever go away. While your arm may be gone or your leg may be gone, you can get over that. You can learn to adapt, and, they'll all tell you. But our many, many, many experiences with the devastating impacts of PTSD and how that syndrome, the post-traumatic stress syndrome, really doesn't ever let you. Some guys don't sleep. Some guys go through these they see a flash on the street and they'll go into intense panic and emotional distress, and that stuff doesn't ever go away. And to have Sergeant Gammons out there and to have him inside the ropes with one of the best players in the world, he was with Zach Johnson at Bay Hill. That's what it's all about. That's not going to change his life. I mean, he's still going to suffer with it, but if we're able to let him know that he can go back and tell other people suffering that there's great organizations out here, and there are many in golf, that and many around the world in all sports that are able to, that they care. Added up, all of us together means something to these men and women, and for us to be a small part of that, we're truly blessed. We really are. Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome. And what I'll do, especially for this interview, is I will link to your site, Caddy for a Cure, and give all your contact information, because it's funny because when I went to the site, I looked at the pictures, there was no correlation. I just, I'm seeing like the troops, with the prosthetics, on the course, and I'm seeing, some of the kids who were affected with Fanconi anemia. And that's what Caddy for a Cure, obviously label-wise, would be about from a strictly research standpoint. But like you said, it's so much deeper than that. And again, like I said, I just want to thank you for being a part of it, and not from a because I get to interview you angle, but more so it's too often we have an opportunity to make a difference and we wait, and that's I'm honored to talk to somebody who didn't wait, who went for it. So that's what I think top performance really is about, seeing a need or seeing an opportunity and just answering it. It's not always going to be crystal clear, just like you probably weren't going to go to Malone College because you didn't even know Malone College existed, but the opportunity presented itself, and, it all happened for the greater good.
Well, it does. It's like I said earlier, the pieces of your life and how it all adds up together. And hey, I'm nothing special. I'm just my mentor, my second father, and my dear late friend Zig Ziglar. I had the great opportunity to meet him a long time ago in another miraculous situation, and he ended up becoming such a good mentor of mine. He said that people, he used to give out this little thing. It was a round circle, and it had a number 2, and it had it. And he used to hand people. And that was the thing that people, he always used to say it as a little tongue-in-cheek jest. And he said, here, have one of these until you get round to it. Get round to it. And that's the way so many people, that was impactful for me, because people, I think, there's a lot of great people out there that have a lot of great intentions. I think everybody walks around that one day they're going to get involved in a charity, and one day they're going to go help feed the homeless people, and one day they're going to do this and do that, and they're always waiting for the sun, the moon, and the stars to all line up till their lives are just absolutely perfect, and they're going to be able to do it. And then, as we know, life, we don't know how long we have, and things happen and situations happen, and again, based on faith, we looked at each other, my wife and I, and said, hey, we think this is what we're supposed to be doing, so let's get round to it and do it right now. And all I would do is encourage you and all your listeners, as you travel through life, don't put off what you know in your heart of hearts has to be done. Get round to it and do it right now. And see what you can do. There's a million things out there that people can do. If you love golf, Caddy for a Cure is a great way for you to get involved. Come caddy, come help us out. We always need help. Various events that we do around the country. There's a million things you can do. But, there's not just Caddy for a Cure. Birdies for the Brave is a great organization. If you're a veteran, if you're wounded, if you're just served and you want to give back, go ahead and give it back. Go help junior golf program. Go help, First Tee. Go help a million great things. If you love golf, there's a gajillion things you can do. But just get round to it and go do it. And that's all we did.
Yeah, and I'm, I just, it's funny because I asked you, or you asked me how long this interview was going to take, and I gave you the ballpark time, which is the normal interview take. And this interview, like I like to say sometimes, we went there, and there isn't necessarily this desired place all the time for every single interview, but this is a conversation where it's deeper than the words on a page or the titles of the people talking. And, I definitely want to talk. I want to talk about Blue Angels Foundation, and more of what you're doing about. I feel like this is a perfect place to stop for Caddy for a Cure. I don't want to bring other stuff into it. This has been a great conversation. If that's all right with you, I just want to stop it right here, because to bring all these other things that you're doing, I don't know. This is pristine in its own setting right now.
Well, David, it's been great to be with you, and I enjoy telling the story. And like Zig says, if you always tell the truth, you never have to try to remember what you said. And the fascinating part about all this is that it really is just a lot of big dose of reality. This is actual things that have happened, and again, I just encourage you and everybody else to take our story. Again, we didn't do anything special. We saw an opportunity and we just acted on it. That's all we did. And it took steps to call the PGA Tour and call the IRS and do all the paperwork. And we could have taken the easy way out and said, well, that's a great idea. Someone should do that. In fact, I got a call one day from a guy. You stole my idea. I said,
wow.
Really? Yeah, a guy called me up and really busted me all up and said, hey, you stole my idea. And I said, well, really, it's not my idea to go caddy for somebody else. I mean, that was never my idea. I never claimed that idea. The only thing that I claim is that I went ahead and took the steps to do it. I said, did you file for your 501c3? He said, no. I said, did you ever contact the PGA Tour? He said, no. I said, do you know any players on the PGA Tour that you could maybe go and talk to or ask about this? He said, no. But I always had this idea. And I said, well, therein lies the difference. I said, you had the idea, and it was a good one. All we did was act on it. All we did was act on it. So unfortunately, I never knew you, and I'm sure there's many other people that might have had that idea. We didn't do anything. We didn't create anything other than the model to be able to do this. And again, it's acting on it. We got round to it, and we went ahead and did it. You had an idea, and you just let it go out the window.
Yeah.
So great way to close.
No, I mean I'm sitting here just doing the Tiger Woods fist pump because perfect. Russ, thank you for taking time out to do the interview, and I just want to thank everybody else for being a part of it.
Thank you very much, David. I appreciate it, and thank you for this great show. I'm looking at some of your other stuff that you've done, and you're doing a great job, and I'd love to help you any way we can in the future.
No problem. We'll definitely talk again about just, Blue Angel Foundation and just more of the other things that you guys at Caddy for a Cheer have coming up.
Absolutely. Sure thing.
All right. Thanks again.
Thank you.